Hello everyone and welcome to the box office! With the Roundtable being on hiatus for the next few months, I couldn't help myself but still bring you guys the box office updates of the past weekend and just looking at the box office in general compared to the movies that are out. I even took inspiration from the incredible Dan Murrell's channel and I made some charts for you guys. However, they are not nearly as good or in-depth. If you want real box office madness, go watch Dan Murrell's stuff. So obviously the first thing we want to dive into is the top 5 domestic box office of the past weekend, which was August 16th through the 18th of 2024. Alien Romulus actually came in first with a little over 42 million in its opening weekend. I've seen some debate as to whether that's a good or bad thing. I think it's a very good thing for the franchise. Deadpool Wolverine came in second with another $30 million, a little over 30. It Ends With Us came in third with $23.8 million. I believe this was its second weekend. Twisters hanging in the top 5, making another $10 million. And coming in fifth, this was a surprising one, was the Fathom re-release of Coraline. It made $9.6 million last weekend, and it had outdone a lot of other films that have been in the top 5 box office recently. Most notably, Borderlands took a 72% drop from week 1 to week 2, and it already didn't open well. It's not looking very good for the Borderlands movie. Diving into the numbers a little bit more, Alien Romulus worldwide has now made $110 million on a production budget of $80. So it's at 1.4 times that budget back. If you're new here, the general rule of thumb is if you want your movie to be successful on an average level, obviously each film varies depending on how much it's spent on marketing and etc. But usually, if you don't have any knowledge of what the marketing budgets are or anything, you want to make at least 2.5 times your production budget back to think about the marketing cost and the theaters. Of course, that varies, but the general rule of thumb is about 2.5 times. It's at 1.4. I think it'll have no problem getting to 2.5 and beyond. Alien Romulus is going to be a huge win for 20th Century Studios and Disney. It's insane that we live in the world where we say Alien will be a big success for Disney. Now let's look at Deadpool and Wolverine. It has now crossed $1.1 billion at the worldwide box office, and it is officially the highest grossing R-rated film of all time. It has made 5.7 times its $200 million production budget. Not only has it crossed that worldwide threshold, it also crossed the domestic threshold. I actually have 2 additional charts showing the top 5 R-rated box office worldwide and domestic. For worldwide box office, as I mentioned, Deadpool Wolverine is number 1 with a little over $1.1 billion. I actually have an asterisk there because obviously this is not the final number because Deadpool Wolverine is still making money in theaters, but this is just where it's at currently. Second place worldwide is actually Joker, making $1.064 billion. Now this is the only other R-rated film to ever cross $1 billion. It was the first R-rated film to ever do so. And, Oppenheimer almost got there, coming in third with $976 million. It was just shy of that $1 billion mark worldwide, but, that's still not a number to sneeze at, considering that it was made for a little over $100 million. Big profit margin for Oppenheimer. And which may be surprising to some people, the last 2 films in the worldwide top R-rated box office are just Deadpool 2 and Deadpool. Deadpool 2 at $786 million and Deadpool 1 at $781 million. That's your top 5 worldwide R-rated box office of all time. This is not adjusting for inflation or anything like that. Like Dan Murrell and a ton of people do amazing charts diving into inflation and what that means and everything. I'm a believer in that if you're going to take inflation into account, you also have to take into account average ticket price, average number of tickets sold, the average length the movie played in theaters, because there are some classic movies like the original Star Wars that played in theaters for like a year. And it's like, what if movies could play in theaters for a year and there was no streaming option? Like, there's a lot to take into account, so I like to just take it at its face value. Now, the all-time domestic R-rated movies of all time looks a little bit differently from the worldwide. There are a few carryovers, though, so let's take a look at that chart. Right now, Deadpool and Wolverine just under $550 million worldwide. I'm sure it'll hit that, or domestically, excuse me. I'm sure it'll hit that any day now. And second is The Passion of the Christ, which $370 million. Deadpool in third with $363 million. American Sniper in fourth with $350 million. And Joker in fifth with $335 million. So, my fellow Americans probably understand why Passion of the Christ and American Sniper did a lot better domestically than they did overseas. Hence, it shouldn't come as a real surprise that they did so well domestically. I particularly remember when American Sniper came out in theaters, and it was a huge domestic sensation when it happened. Going into more of the top 5 films, It Ends With Us now has a worldwide box office total of $179 million, and it was made on a production budget of 25. It's already at 7.2 times its production budget back. That is a huge win for everyone involved there. I know there's some drama behind the scenes going on there, especially with Jeff Snyder reporting about a rift between Blake Lively and the film's director in the editing room. Nick and I picked a hell of a time to stop our movie news podcast, so we can't really dive into that. But I have now seen the film, and if you guys would like to see a review of the film, please just comment that below, and I will see if I can work on it for you. Twisters now has a worldwide box office total of $333 million worldwide, and it was made on a production budget of 155, so it's at 2.2. It's just shy of that 2.5 number that you'd like to see most movies hit. I think something that could be hurting that is Universal very stupidly already put it on PVOD, which I don't know why they did that when the film is still in the top 5 box office after several weeks. What I will say is that was likely a deal that was made ahead of time, but I feel like that deal could be adjusted if your film is making money. Like Deadpool and Wolverine smartly will not be going on PVOD anytime soon while it keeps banging out money in theaters. And I feel like Alien Romulus should take a similar approach. It's crazy to think that at one point, I'm pretty sure Alien Romulus was going to take the Prey approach and just go directly to Hulu. It still baffles me that Prey was released directly to Hulu. That movie would have been amazing theatrically, and I feel like it could have made money too. I know there's 2 other Predator movies in active development, one of them being Prey 2. Just put Prey 2 in theaters. No one will be upset. Coraline, in its 811th week, made the additional $9 million, as I mentioned before, bringing its total worldwide box office, including its old performance, to $138 million worldwide. That was probably still seen as a box office failure given its $60 million budget. It just goes to show that there's been a fondness for that movie growing over time, so you like to see it kind of come back in the top 5 here. Despicable Me 4 has been a big juggernaut this season, and it is now at the $848 million mark worldwide. It's likely reaching the end of its box office run. It'll probably end over just a little north of $850, but considering its $100 million budget, it is 8.5 times that budget over it, so a win for Illumination and Universal there. Inside Out 2, just an absolute killer. $1.6 billion at the box office, which is crazy. It's the highest grossing film of the year so far, and with a budget of $200 million, it is 8.1 times that production budget over. Incredible for Disney and Inside Out 2 there. Trap now has $62 million worldwide. I don't have the exact production budget here, but I imagine it was probably somewhere between the $15 and $30 million range. And if it's on the lower end of that, this is a very successful number. If it's on the higher end of that, it has a little bit more to go. But I unfortunately think that the kind of hype and the interest in seeing Trap has gone down as the weeks have gone by, but we'll see where its final number ends up being. And lastly, Borderlands. Borderlands was made for a production budget of a little over $100 million. I've seen some sources say 115, and I think it was Deadline or Variety said that it had a marketing budget of $30 million. Worldwide, it has made $21 million. There is a possibility that it doesn't even recoup its marketing budget. You hate to see it. You really hate to see it. I also had a chance to see this film. Comment if you want the review, but I feel bad for everyone involved. You know, you'd never want to see a movie fail, regardless of how good or bad it is. And, I've heard stories of there being some behind-the-scenes trouble with Eli Roth and the studio, which led to Tim Miller coming in to do reshoots, and it being a whole thing, it being shot for an R rating and then edited down to a PG-13. All stuff that you don't want to hear when making a movie. So this will likely be one of the biggest flops of the year. Which is unfortunate. But in terms of the last weekend box office, guys, that will do it. Please comment your thoughts on the box office this weekend. Do you have predictions for the box office next weekend? I'd love to see what they are. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.